if we can like understand ourselves, have self-compassion, first of all, not judge ourselves for having the thoughts and the feelings that we have, and to summon the courage to look within,
Mm-hmm.
to face the inner darkness, to be compassionate with ourselves, to not beat ourselves up, to learn how to become our own best friends, saying nice things to ourselves. How about that for a change? And at that time, I pleaded for another chance. Like, please don't let this happen. I don't want to die. I will do whatever's necessary to overcome this addiction. Just send me back and give me another chance. And just like that, I'm back in my body, gasping for breath.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. So it sounds like you needed that kick in the butt, right?
I believe that it is an aspect of limitless love, because that was what was needed to be heard.
Yeah.
I needed to see that. I needed to hear that. I needed to feel that
Right.
to get the strength and the motivation necessary to break free of the black hole that opiates had become in my life.
Wow. That makes sense. Yeah. That's amazing. Do
And
you,
imagine the reason I say it's an expression of limitless love, like, I wouldn't want to bring those kinds of things to the attention of my loved one,
sure.
right? Because it's going to cause them a lot of distress.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to cause distress so that a person can wake up
Right.
and do what they need to do to get their life straight.
Right. I kind of call it a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Say more, say more.
The- my dad used to say, if we don't start going down the right path, or the path that and he was the alcoholic, um, then if we don't listen to our guidance, don't listen to our intuition, because he wasn't spiritual or anything like that. But if we don't listen to that gut feeling or whatever that
Mm,
tells us that maybe this isn't right, and it keeps knocking and knocking on the door, sooner or later we're going to get hit over the head with a 2x4.
mm.
That's going to show us that, hey, okay, we've been, it's time. It's time. We let you go on. We didn't interfere so much.
Mm-hmm.
You've had that many chances. So here's your 2x4.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, I don't regret any of it,
Right.
the use of the drugs and stuff, and because it's really become part of who I am, and it's given me a lot of strength, and I've been able to turn it into my greatest asset in life. So hardships as pathways to power, difficulties as pathways to peace,
Yeah.
because we can turn these things around and we can turn them into our greatest assets, and they can build a lot of character.
Sure.
But anyways, where do you want to take the conversation from here?
So, yeah, what the question that's coming up in my mind is, after your NDE, did you remember it right away? And okay,
I did. I remembered
in real
it.
time. Okay.
And as soon as I came back to consciousness, I got on the phone and called crisis hotline. So they sent a specialist out, and they did an assessment and put me into a detox facility.
Okay.
But at the time, I could totally remember all the details. But as time has gone by, the memories have faded and become blurry,
Mm.
and I can't
Okay.
remember the details, which is kind of a good thing, I think, because it keeps life, there's still the mystery. Because I was shown like a future that I could have lived if I hadn't died.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't die. So maybe I was shown the future, right?
Right. And so
It's
you're
it's
living
hard to
life.
wrap your mind around these kind of things.
Yeah,
But
I
the stuff has come to fruition. You know, I was married, bought a house, purchased a car, uh, my son Daniel was born, et cetera, et cetera. I've helped a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of come true, but I don't have access to the detailed memories of the vision.
yeah. So basically you're living what you were shown.
I
So
think so.
yeah, so I noticed how you just kind of slid by helping a lot of people. It's your humility, blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, you do.
And I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be able to be present with people
Hmm.
and to step to the side of myself. And I feel like when I do help others, that I'm making good on the promise that I'll do anything to overcome this addiction.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever's necessary. I said when I was pleading for my life to send me back, don't let me die, please. I can't let this happen. I'll do anything. So it's like I've been able to become a listener where I can be present with people
Hmm.
and actually hear them without judgment.
Yeah.
And that feels really good.
Yeah, that's a gift for sure. That's a rare quality. So thank you for being here. Thank you for not choosing the other. And thank you for
Absolutely.
being on the planet and helping humanity and with your abilities for sure and your gifts.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
It's an exciting ride.
Isn't it? It sure is.
It
Yeah.
is.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
About the ride.
About the ride.
Okay. What would you like to know?
So, okay, moving back to after you be congratulations by the way on your sobriety. Is that being clean all these
Yeah.
years? Okay.
Clean, sober.
Clean and sober. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Going on 10 years.
good for you. Good for you. Yes, there definitely. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I got goosebumps. So, was there any time that you uh, maybe felt or knew or in your studies or in your intuitions or in your work that we might be going through a very critical time right now in with humanity? Critical may not be the right word, but a big shift type of thing.
I, for like my own personal opinion on that is that yes, we are.
Hmm.
You can tell just, you know, from the kind of information that's become mainstream now. Meditation wasn't always mainstream.
Yeah.
It's, you know, UFOs, um, the government it coming out and saying, hey, yeah, UFOs are real.
Right.
I mean, that just didn't happen. Um, there were, you know, people were seeing UFOs all the time, and the government just denied it. And they actually had a campaign to demonize it and make people look crazy and or wacko for even talking about it. But anyways, things change,
Hmm.
and we are, I think, going through an evolutionary period where our consciousness is expanding for sure. And I know that it's certainly true in my own personal life, and I know that that's true for many people that I know. So it's pretty exciting, all of the new insights and technological developments and things like that. But I feel like we need um, like ethical development. It's like the technological development is ahead of the spiritual development.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're being given all of these technologies, but we don't have the wisdom on how to use them.
Yeah. Does it do you have memories of any of your past lives or other lifetimes or anything like that?
I don't
Okay.
know. I've talked to different past life researchers and things who tell me that there are memories there of these things, but I don't have any experience with that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you remembered anything from Atlantis because that was what I was shown with after my in 2001 NDE was lifetimes that needed to be healed, and going all the way back to Atlantis and the Galactic Wars. But
And the
trans
galactic what?
wars, the Galactic Wars.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm familiar a little bit with the history
Okay.
of Atlantis.
Okay.
I used
Yeah.
to be really interested in studying those kind of topics.
Hmm.
So you're saying that we all have past lives back to Atlantis, or some of us do?
I
Can you give a little
believe
bit more
the people
detail?
on the planet that are on the planet now lifetimes, have had lifetimes in Atlantis in some way.
Hmm.
Uh, and what I remember, of course, Atlantis existed for thousands of years, the Atlantean culture. It wasn't just a one-off thing from what I remember and what my studies too, and working with people from their memories. So transhumanism was a thing
Hmm.
that they were working on in
Hmm.
Atlantis, and a lot of, well, among a lot of things that are not, that say what we would consider good for humanity or the planet, which is why we had the fall. But we've come back. I understand is we're back in those times, so to speak, and so now we're correcting that. And that's what my counsel told me one time in an out of
Ah.
body experience, is we're correcting what happened in Atlantis. And this was 20 years ago, before I was even awake. And I said, well, what happened in Atlantis? They're like, they look at each other. Let's just say it wasn't good. Yeah. So what I understand is we're back to correct, to balance balance, the pendulum always swings, right? So to balance things out, and correct what we have to take responsibility for it, all of us, what we've did back then, with, like what you were saying, getting out of balance with spirituality and what we might call science,
Mm,
or
that makes a lot of
techni-
sense.
technological. um yeah.
Yeah, and people would think that that's pretty far-fetched. But what they don't realize is that humanity is a lot older than they think it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that we've had civilizations rise and fall, prehistory, and you can find that information in myths and legends, and religious teachings from
Hmm.
around the world.
Hmm.
But when you start connecting the dots, it's not as far-fetched as you might think it is.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does.
It's, to me, it's the only thing that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah. But hey, that's me.
It's
uh
interesting for sure.
mhm. Yeah.
Um, I've often wondered about this kind of thing, and even back when I was in college studying philosophy, they mentioned it in Plato's work,
Hmm.
the civilization of Atlantis, and those kind of myths and legends are fascinating.
Yeah, and Edgar Casey talks about it too. So yeah,
A lot
there's.
of great minds have discussed this stuff over the years. Even Francis Bacon wrote a book called "The New Atlantis," and that was really the American project. I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever heard of The New Atlantis by Sir Francis Bacon.
I have not. I know who Sir Francis Bacon is, but I have not heard of that I
Yeah.
can recall. Now I have a friend who's a merbeing like me. We're really getting out there now. And she remembers, we actually remember each other in other civilizations as an aquatic being, and in Atlantis. And she talks about the new Atlantis, and she's helping to bring that in.
Why do you think that some people can't remember?
Our past lives.
Yeah, and especially like relating to Atlantis.
Well,
Like
from
with
what
myself, for instance, I don't have any memory, like past life memories,
Mhm.
and I don't have, I can't remember Atlantis or anything like that. So I'm just wondering why you think that some people remember and others don't.
I believe it depends on the person and what their life plan is. I also believe that there's a lot of trauma. I've helped people through trauma from the fall in Atlantis, and because it's very traumatic, just like
Huh.
the crucifixion of Christ, very traumatic. I've helped people get through that too. And of course that's been ingrained in us, I was raised Catholic, so in a Christian way that, we that he was crucified for our sins and everything. So that guilt is still in our soul memory.
Mm.
So I believe that there's a lot of trauma in lifetimes that may be keeping us from remembering them.
Mm-hmm.
I had to remember my current life first, the trauma from my current life, in order to start remembering, or I was shown remember past lives.
Okay. That
Yeah,
makes sense because we repress, memories, traumatic memories
exactly.
in order to survive. And
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
neat.
right. Yeah. And we're kind of programmed that way, unfortunately, but not to remember to come, with a memory wipe. But the goal is, of course, to, especially now, right, in the work you're doing, and people that are awake now, to dive into our true selves and knowing who we are.
Mm. Amen.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about your work. Did your NDE, obviously it helped, it did, of course, lead to your waking up to your abilities and your gifts in your work and working with people?
Yeah. So how I was introduced to that was initially I went into that 7-day detox, and then I was in IOP, intensive outpatient services, where I'd go and meet with other guys who were in recovery for that happened for like 6 months or something. And then I went into Alcoholics Anonymous and worked the 12 steps to the best of my ability. And that kind of set the stage to be a sponsor for others.
Mm.
So I started, after working the steps, I started sponsoring other people, helping them through the steps. And then I received some guidance that I needed to create a business. So I enrolled in a spiritual business boot camp, it was called, by a woman named Kimberly Maska. Took a course. It was all about creating a business, how to do Facebook and create courses online and things like that. And then I went into a coaching school where I studied spiritual coaching, became a certified spiritual coach,
Mm.
and then started this business where I am now. I'm working on a new product. It's an online course called Quantum Forgiveness.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. It's based on the stuff that I've learned since recovery over the past 10 years. And it's going to be chock full of useful practices, concepts on how to really kind of shift into an alternate timeline. That's how I think of it.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like the difference between it's like when I was given a second chance, it's almost like we hopped timelines. It's mind blowing. I know.
Not
Um,
to me, but yes, it is.
and now we're in a new reality
Right.
where I exist, because I exist, little old me. Now all of reality is different because we're all connected to everything. And when there's a change that happens with you, everything else is affected.
Right.
So it's about that quantum forgiveness. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says we've been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence beyond which we've ever dreamed.
Mm.
Fourth dimension is time. So, but he doesn't explain what that means. But basically, like with this quantum forgiveness, like I had to figure out a way to move beyond feelings of resentment. And I talk a lot about the sexual molestation. Like I had to figure out a way to free myself from that so that I wasn't burnt up about it anymore and I could move forward with my life. So, anyways, that's what I'm doing now. I'm coaching people heart-centered people and creating this quantum forgiveness course, which I'm pretty excited about.
Oh yeah, I love that. That quantum forgiveness. That I remember when I saw your podcast, that thing really stood out to me. I'm like, oh, yes, he has it. He gets it. I understand that because the work I do, I see it help with soul retrieval and aspects, fragmented aspects of ourselves, bringing them in. I see it, how it heals quantumly. And that's what Yeshua showed me 20 years ago too, how it heals certain things, will heal certain parts of us, and not only us, but our ancestry, our legacy, and all around, that has to do with what we are healing.
Mm. Yeah, it's like the past, present, and future like aren't as linear
Yeah,
as we might experience or think that it is.
right, right, yeah. That reminds me of a what I was journaling about this morning, an experience. I'm an out-of-body traveler. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Conscious out-of-body traveler. And so I was writing this morning about when I uh, actually it was in my books. I'm almost finished my first book after working on it for 10-15 years or whatever. You probably know how that is, starting and stopping books. Okay, so I've started like 3.
Been there.
Yeah, right. So this one I am finishing. I'm almost finished. Anyway, I was writing in there about when I go to sleep, I give myself the high vibrational affirmations. Okay. So I was communicating to I love you, I love you. I was just repeating that over and over and over. I love you, I love you, I love you as I'm falling asleep. And then I wake up out of my body and I'm floating in a wispy white space, and I'm still saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I hear back uh, thousands of I love you, I love you, I love you, just coming back at me or surrounding me and filling up the quantum reality around me and filling me up with all this love and blissful experience. It's amazing.
Nice. I want to experience that.
You can.
Okay. We'll talk after the show.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, and so it makes sense, and that's right there. To me, these are this proof of the concepts that we have when we're here connected to our inspiration and source, and that part of ourselves.
Mm. Yeah, it's pretty incredible that we can it's almost like time travel, you know?
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
the future and the past. What it seems is that the future and the past and the present coexist simultaneously, and that we can travel into the past and into the future.
Right.
I think there are things that we really don't understand about our biology, like what we're really capable of doing.
Mhm.
But I digress.
No, I love talking about that. It's true. We're so powerful. We have no idea how powerful we are. Yeah. And that's this matrix. That's the way this matrix is rigged. So we don't remember and how powerful we are.
Mm, yeah, we're
That's
always,
how I see it
in
anyway.
general, we're stressed out, busy, um, tons of text messages that we have to get to, emails, and it just goes on and on. So, we don't have a moment to settle down and really think about things, tap into our abilities. So,
Right. Yeah. Reflect.
the
I call it
Matrix.
devotion time. I give myself that devotion time in the
Mm,
morning and the evening. It devotes to me where I just unplug and go within.
that's been absolutely instrumental to recovery, like being able to overcome the opiate addiction,
I
is to
bet.
have that non-negotiable
Yeah.
devotion time.
Yeah. And that's part of the 12th step or part of the
My sponsor turned me on to that.
okay.
Um, and in the book, in the 12 steps, you practice prayers
Hmm.
And he suggested that I start a daily ritual where I either recite my prayers, do some meditation, maybe some journaling,
Yeah,
and doing that every day, non-negotiable, even if it's 5 minutes, has really helped turn things around.
I love that. You know, that is the first thing after my NDE. I don't know if you're aware of my NDE, but I was met by Yeshua. After my first NDE, when I started working with Yeshua, those are the three things he told me to do: meditate, pray, journal.
Mm-hmm.
Journal, meditate, pray, whatever one. Okay. And pay attention to my dreams was the fourth one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which is really, really important too. But
Cool.
yeah, so
Yeshua.
Yeshua.
That's an interesting topic.
Yes.
So, where do you want to go from here, Sharon?
Uh, is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey? We're
Mm,
at about an hour.
okay. I don't think so. I think
Okay.
I pretty much covered it. Maybe something that I would share is that, hmm. So, like, if we can like understand ourselves, have self-compassion, first of all, not judge ourselves for having the thoughts and the feelings that we have, and to summon the courage to look within,
Mm-hmm.
to face the inner darkness, to be compassionate with ourselves, to not beat ourselves up, to learn how to become our own best friends, saying nice things to ourselves. How about that for a change? Or we have nice thoughts about ourselves and feel good about that and not guilty. Um,
Exactly.
and uh, you can transform your life. You can create a whole new future. The past, what you've experienced, doesn't have to continue. You can really like quantum leap out of where you are now into another existence, one that is more joyful, more fulfilling, where you feel like more of a whole, comfortable human being. And this is coming from someone who had nothing. I was hopelessly addicted to opiate substances, heroin, guys. And I overcame it. And I went from having no friends, no money in the bank, living in a crappy little apartment with feelings of worthlessness, self-esteem issues, self-confidence issues, to someone who is now speaking on camera calmly, collected. I'm surrounded by positive people who want nothing but the best for me and who have the same interests that I have, and passionate people. And my family relationships have healed. I'm closer to my family now, and I've been able to buy a house, buy a car. I have a garden. I do things that I'm passionate about. I help people. And that wasn't always the case. So just imagine where you are now. Maybe you aren't at that low spot that I was at, right? But imagine what you could do.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you're doing, I like to say Christ's work, because that's what, because he's the one who told me to listen to my background tape. He said, listen, because you're not saying nice things to yourself. I kept apologizing for being who I was. So he's
Mm.
the one who told me that. So you're doing Christ's work. Yeah, totally.
I'm happy to do it.
You,
And that's another reason, the feeling of having meaning in your life,
yeah,
that when you're doing Christ work, right, you
yeah,
have a meaning
yeah.
and a purpose. And when you have a meaning and a purpose, you can get through just about anything. It's like Dr. Viktor Frankl in his book about logotherapy. He was a Holocaust survivor. And he said that the reason he made it through the Holocaust, I mean, he experienced torture, he saw people tortured, and he was able to make it through because he had a crystal clear vision of his wife that he wanted to see again. He didn't want to die before he saw her one more time. And he was able to make it through the Holocaust, but he had a meaning and a purpose for existence. So if we can develop a strong meaning and a purpose, doing Christ work is an example of that. If we can hold on to that, stay centered in that meaning and purpose, it brings a lot of peace and a lot of being like a feeling of wholeness and worthwhileness.
Definitely. Yeah. Doing the Christ walk, the Christ within us for sure.
Because meaning can be hard to find.
Yeah, especially when and what's going on in the world today, and we're being bombarded with it all the time, and everything, with all the fear mongering stuff. So, and program after program that keeps running in our mind, if we don't, and I'm sure this, Branden, with your work, is that soul work is not easy. It's not easy work, looking at our shadows and going through those layers in order to get to the Christed part of ourselves, right? And so it's not easy, or else everyone would be doing it. And
That's true.
so, yeah, I applaud every brave person that takes that walk and goes through that, because it is not easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the people who are doing this work really do deserve a pat on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you, Sharon.
Oh, well, thank you.
Kudos to me, and kudos to everybody who's
It is
watching this right now.
definitely.
That you're the one. You're the light, and just continue being the light, and do the work that's involved, even if it's uncomfortable. And really, ultimately, everything's okay.
Yes. This is fleeting.
It's fleeting. It'll be over in the blink of an eye.
I like to say the only thing that lasts forever is God's love.
Amen.
Amen. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was a pleasure for sure. Yeah.
Same here. Pleasure meeting you, and thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, of course. Stick around. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and please do the YouTube stuff. Subscribe, like, comment. Yeah. And we'll see you again soon.